right, guys, we are on lesson 8, and this is page 71. It is representing proportional relationships with equations. Okay, so once again, we know how to work with tables. We know how to recognize proportional relationships in graphs, right? A straight line that goes through the origin. So now how to write an equation for all of that. We're working on that today. So points to remember is that proportional relationships have a constant ratio or unit rate, and that constant ratio or unit rate of y divided by x can also be called the constant of proportionality. We learned that in the last lesson. So how could we use what we know about the constant of proportionality to write an equation? When we're given important information or a word problem of sorts. You can write down your ideas there, but we are going to go right into the problem, and I think that you'll be able to answer that question later. Okay, so example 1. Let's just clear that out. It will give me more space. Okay, example 1, it's going to come into focus, maybe. There we go. All right, it is a long, wordy one. Your mother has accelerated onto the interstate, beginning a long road trip, and you notice that the low fuel light is on, indicating that there is a half of a gallon left in the gas tank. The nearest gas station is 26 miles away. I don't know if that's going to be important yet. Your mother keeps a log where she records the mileage and the number of gallons purchased each time she fills up the tank. My mother did the same thing. Use the information in the table below to determine whether you will make it to the gas station before the gas runs out. You know that if you can determine the amount of gas that her car consumes in a particular number of miles, then you can determine whether or not you can make it to the next gas station. All right, so this is her gas record. She has, drove 8 gallons, or she used 8 gallons of gas. She didn't drive 8 gallons. She used 8 gallons of gas in 224 miles driven. She used 10 gallons of gas in 280 miles driven. She used 4 gallons of gas in 112 miles driven. So if we find the constant of proportionality, which if I were you, instead of recreating the table, like we could, just divide y divided by x, right? If we're saying this is y and this is x, so we have 224 divided by 8, which is 28. Here it is 280 divided by 10, which we could do in our head is 28. And then we have 112 divided by 4, which is also 28. Okay, so the constant of proportionality is 28, meaning the car travels 28 miles for every 1 gallon of gas. Right, because y divided by x was miles driven divided by gallons, and we got 1, so we got the 28 to 1. That's why that makes sense. If we say write an equation that will relate the miles driven to the number of gallons of gas, we can write it like y is equal to the constant of proportionality times x, right? This was equal to the constant of proportionality, which was 28 times 8, and that gave us that, 28 times 10, so that's why that works. If it helps you to write that this, in this particular case, is gallons of gas, and y is miles driven. Sometimes it helps to point out the variables and what they mean for future problem. Okay, and C, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Okay, C, knowing that there is a half gallon of gas left in the tank when the light comes on, Will she make it to the nearest gas station? Explain why or why not. Okay, so she has a half gallon remaining. Right? Doesn't look like she's gonna make it, huh? So if we write no, she gets 28 miles for 1 gallon. If she only has a half, she can travel half of that, right? Half of 28, which is 14 miles. But the gas station is 26, right? I'm looking back up at the problem. The gas station is 26 miles away. The gas station is 26 miles away. I should write miles with the MI, that's the abbreviation. Okay, so she's not gonna have enough gas. Looks like you're gonna be pushing the car. So using the equation found in part B, determine how far your mother can travel on 18 gallons of gas. Solve the problem in 2 ways. One, using the constant of proportionality, and once using the equation. So if you use arithmetic, like you have 28, which is the constant of proportionality, times 18 gallons of gas, and you get 504 miles driven. If you use the equation, you have y equals 28 times x, which is, well, we don't know y. I mean, we do over here, but we wouldn't. So y equals 28 times x, which we would know, right? Because it would be 28 times 18. That's what gallons is, right? X is gallons. And so it would be y equals 504. And so to explain it, you could say your mother can travel 504 miles on 18 gallons of gas. I'm not going to write it though because I'm out of room. All right, and then E, which is using the constant of proportionality and then using the equation found in part B, determine how many gallons of gas will be needed for 750 miles, okay? So maybe let's do the equation first. If you said y equals 28x, right? It's the same equation because the constant is the same throughout this problem. And now we know the miles is 750, the miles is y. So 750 miles equals 28 times x, which is the gallons. To find out the gallons, you could do one-step equation, divide both sides by 28. And you get, this will cancel out, 750 divided by 28 is 26.8-ish. That's the approximation for x. So the gallons is 26.8, which is 26.8 gallons are needed to drive 750 miles. It also asked us to use a constant of proportionality, which is just going 750 miles divided by the constant, which was 28, gave us approximately 26.8. So if we just use that, it's maybe a little faster. Different ways to do the problems. All right, and now we are on example 2. Example 2 is on the next page. And that's also going to be the second video.